Good afternoon, my name is Olga Tawanova. I want to thank everybody for joining us virtually and in this studio. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform continues its operation. It's day 266 of the full-scale invasion of Russian aggressor in our land, and now we will be talking about the children, and we will talk about the children who were afflicted by war. I want to introduce our speaker. It's Yaroslav Shanko, Deputy Head of Juvenile Prevention Department of the National Police. Good afternoon, Mr. Yaroslav. Good afternoon. So let's talk about the consequences that we have due to the war in terms of our children. Under war time, the protection of children became even more important. I mean, unlawful deportation, sexual harassment, and the murder is not an exhaustive list of the of the crimes committed by Russian invaders. As of today, 431 child perished and more than 800 injured, most of all in the Donetsk region. It's 174 children. Kharkivska region, 23 children, and 20 in Kherson. Again, the figures are not exhaustive because the warfare is still in progress and part of the country is still occupied. The work is in progress on identifying the cases in the liberated territories. Also, as according to the information of National Information Bureau, 11,192 children were unlawfully deported, and the state institutions developed the mechanisms and their adoption in the legislation of Ukraine for return of these children who were illegally deported to Russian Federation upon the initiative of national police to document the cases of crimes in the occupied territories with regard to the children and in particular of sexual nature. The relevant departments were established and the criminal cases are being investigated under the pre-court procedure. The teams like those now focus their efforts in the deoccupied territories in Kharkiv and Kherson regions. Starting from the first days of the war, the work of the teams and units of the juvenile prevention united the repelling of aggressors' attack and preventing juvenile jurisdiction as well. It's aimed for the best interest of the children, and special attention of the units of the national police is aimed at location of the children missing in action during warfare. Starting from 24th of February, we got 7,704 applications as to the missing children. And since the beginning of the year, the number of such children is more than 10,000. 280 of them are still being actively searched. The most part of these applications is the applications by the relatives to have them reunite with the family. Their juvenile prevention also started a chatbot in Telegram channel. It's called Search for Children. Its main task is to simplify the procedure of providing information about the missing children or with whom their connection was cut. And we got 151 applications through this chatbot as to the search of 131 child, out of which 88 are already found. Also, the bot enables report about the crimes committed in regard to the children, and also to transfer the reports to the information platform Children of War, which functions under patronage of the President of Ukraine. Also, starting from the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the Russian bombardments damaged more than 2,700 educational institutions, out of which 337 completely destroyed. Due to this, we had to provide the fulfillment of the right of children for education, which resulted in creations of relevant committees which investigated the study locations for its readiness for the beginning of the study process. Also, we launched the project of the Safe School during 2022-2023, the study year 2022-2023. We implement a complex of measures aimed at increase of public safety during study. For example, there is a juvenile policeman attached to each school, and whose authority covers the territories adjacent to the school. Also, the policemen of juvenile prevention implement a number of initiatives aimed at covering the humanitarian needs of the children of the families afflicted by war, to provide the help to everybody who needs it, specifically to internally relocated persons. Such projects as Our Children functions that were multiple times announced in mass media, and many other projects of the same type. Also, the juvenile policemen during the year constantly keep the providing consultations to children with regard to mine safety, acquisition of any explosive objects, etc. So the juvenile prevention is aimed to do the maximum possible to create a safe environment for the children. Yaroslav, you mentioned that specifically now the juvenile police works in the deoccupied territories of Ukraine in Kharkiv and Kherson region. And we have a part of Donetsk region deoccupied. What are the crimes mostly committed against children that you document? Well, I mentioned that those are murders, which is the heaviest crime, and since the beginning of the war we have hundreds of such crimes. 431 children perished as a result of war, and 835 are injured. There are crimes of sexual nature committed against children. All those cases are documented in a proper manner, and all necessary steps are taken in terms of investigation, and police is doing everything not to retain any crime unpunished. Dear colleagues, please, your questions. Good afternoon, Yulia Gatina, Ukrinform. I have a specification and one question. You mentioned that 280 children are being actively searched now. So is it from the beginning of the year, or are they resulted from applications that were received from the 24th of February? 280 is from the beginning of full-scale invasion, because from the beginning of the year it's 284. Yes, so it's from the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Yes, exactly. And can you please tell us about the trend of applications by the children about the home violence? Yes, we have applications like that, and the work of the police, specifically juvenile prevention, one of the authorities, one of the functions is the prevention of home violence. So under specific conditions like this, we cannot stop working in any of the directions, in any of the areas, and it's one of the top priority areas of our work. We have cases like that. They unfortunately continue in some cities and regions of Ukraine. Not only such cases are being identified not only by juvenile prevention policemen, but there are mobile teams established for identification of home violence acts, because we understand that home violence against children is specific and every case is individual, and we have to approach it in a balanced manner involving all necessary resources, including local authorities and psychologists and many other services that we're doing. Can you mention any figures? Well, as to the home violence, that's a separate block, and I don't have figures prepared. I have general statistics as to the war crimes, but home violence is a vast block of figures, and upon your request, we will provide you all the necessary figures in terms of number of applications and investigated cases. Yaroslav, we understand that the structure of crimes against children changed dramatically with the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Now that our colleague mentioned the home violence, maybe you have applications of other kind which have their military, so to say, war specific. What do the children come to police with? The work of juvenile police in general adheres to the principle of communication and trust to police. So since the moment of creation of the juvenile police, there is an increasing trust, increasingly growing trust to this structure, and the bodies do everything we can to establish coordinated communication with the growing generation. So we coordinate the work of chatbots, platforms to have communication from different sides, and we have preventive actions taken in educational institutions. We use all the available tools we have at hand, but so that every child could trust us, and God forbid if it becomes a victim of a crime, for example, home violence, that a child could come to us. If they cannot come to us directly, we offer alternative tools like chatbots or any other platforms, and we leave our contact information everywhere we can. Obviously, starting from the moment where, since the national police started working, the level of trust is increasingly growing, and people come to police with any kind of applications. We cannot omit any case, and we pay attention to every case, and everything is being processed in compliance with the law in force. That's why I can confidently assert that national police takes all necessary effort to have every child heard. Thank you, dear colleagues. I will remind you, our guest was Yaroslav Shanko, the Deputy Head of Juvenile Prevention Department of the National Police. Thank you. Follow our further announcements. We're preparing our schedule for tomorrow, so bear with us. Believe in our armed forces. Glory to Ukraine.